distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be here with you this morning to share some of my research findings and also my personal views on this elusive yet extremely vital topic of Armenian unity. The title of my presentation is The Persuasive Power of Numbers, a Goal for Political Clout. As a plan of presentation, I will first tell you a true story. Then I'll introduce you to a new book. Secondly, I would get into the scientific concept of critical mass, followed by its application to a small group of people, politically very insignificant, yet they made a huge benefit out of this concept. Finally, I will conclude with a personal statement. So the first topic I will cover is a true story. There was this rich and benevolent man in Beverly Hills. He was enjoying his evening in his beautiful garden. All of a sudden, Genie comes out of that bottle and says, "You have been good to Armenians by giving to the needy. Therefore, I shall grant you a wish, one wish." The man, without any hesitation, says, "I want you to build me a bridge, gamuch, from here, from my house on the hill, to Hawaii." Genie drops his jaw, raises his eyebrows, and says, "This is exceedingly complex, even for me. What if you had another wish? What would it be?" The man thinks for a while and says, "I just can't believe my fellow Armenians. Everybody talks about unity. Why haven't we organized yet? Can you explain? Can you help?" Genie raises his voice, he drops his voice, in a resigned voice says, "How many lanes did you say you wanted in that bridge?" We all know perfectly well that unity has been elusive, has been the holy grail of the Armenian people. Hopefully, prayerfully, that there will be a turning point in this long-lasting tradition. Now, before I proceed telling you how I became interested in this difficult, murky topic of Armenian unity, I'd like to ask you a question. How many of you have either heard or read the book which is titled as Turkish Cruelties Upon Armenian Christians, A Reign of Terror? Let me see the hands. Very few. Okay. We shall come back to this. Now, what kindled a great interest in me in pursuing this topic? Well, one reason was to become rich, right? When you write on Armenian topics, everybody reads about it. And you can buy BMWs, you can buy a mansion, even in Montreal. Anyway, there are other reasons. To answer what kindled a great interest in me is for us to get in my magical time machine and go back to 1980s, late 80s. Back then, I was teaching full-time and working on my degree. For my research, I would enter the data on punch cards and take it to the only mainframe computer on campus for analysis. So, whenever there was a long line, I would go to the library to catch up on my reading. To improve my brains, I even would read the Playboy magazine. On a fateful day, I came across this. It was written that the Greeks, the Bulgarians, the Serbians became independent. But the Armenians had failed. It shook my world. I could not believe my eyes and ears. Why on earth? We're supposed to be intelligent people, smart people, hardworking people. The author of these words gave three main reasons as to why Armenians had failed. And I quote these reasons verbatim or directly. Reason number one, there was no organization that bound all Armenians together. Reason number two, these communities were scattered with no bond of union. Number three, these communities were ignorant of each other and they were jealous of each other. Now, when were these sobering words written? One may ask. 114 years ago, by a fellow named Edwin Bliss. Dr. Bliss was an American. He was born in Turkey. He worked there. He came to know the Greeks, the Armenians, the Assyrians, the Turks, up close and personal. He wrote a book, a scathing account of the Hamidian massacres. And the title of the book was Turkish Cruelties Upon Armenian Christians, A Reign of Terror. This was, naturally, as you know, in 1896. These three reasons, these three seismic, seminal sentences as to why Armenians had failed, had profound impact on me. Since then, I began to think, often write, and always obsess about a worldwide Armenian organization. Then one day, as I was submitting an article to Mr. Demirdjian, who is the executive publisher and managing editor of USA Armenian Life magazine, he parenthetically asked me if I had plans to write a book on Armenian unity. I thought the idea had merit, and also lots of money to buy a BMW. So, last October, I published a book. It's called Viability of a Worldwide Armenian Organization, questing for Western Armenia and Galicia. Very briefly, the book has three main parts. Part number one talks about the rationale for a worldwide Armenian organization. Part number two gives the methodology for building an efficient and an effective world organization. Part three, it simply covers challenges and opportunities for a scattered nation such as we are. I should mention that it has two major features written by some of my friends, and I think that it added quite a bit of credence to the book. One is a passionate foreword written by none other than Mr. Charles Pasterian, and the second feature is an epilogue, succinct but compelling epilogue written by one of the most popular personalities in the diaspora, if not in the world. And you guessed it right, Mr. Harun Sasunyan. But I hate him. I do hate him. Don't tell him I said that. Now, back to reality. The main argument of the book focuses on the contention that there is power, scientific evidence, there is power in numbers. And that power is essentially derived from three sets of sciences. Set one, physics and social behavioral sciences. And the power we obtain is called critical mass through tipping point, spontaneous reaction, and leverage. Set 2, biology, insect behavior, primate group behavior. And the power we derive scientifically is called swarm intelligence and influence. And the third set of sciences is the art, science, and practice of teamwork through creative collaboration. And the power derived is called synergy through creative collaboration. The main question is this: how do we get leverage in politics? Okay? Well, we all know, as we know, for every practical question, every practical method, there is a paradigm behind it to explain it. So we have to put this more scientifically. And that is, how does critical mass produce power? To do that, I have to give examples in physics, social behavioral sciences, in human groups, political science, and so on and so on. Dr. Abrahamian is looking at me and says that, don't overdo it. You don't have enough time, so I better not cover that. So what I did is I summarized it for you very quickly to go into this commonality of critical mass concept application in various sciences. I only took 3 sciences, major ones. All right, critical mass. What is critical mass? The density of something. Group of people that come together. It's the crown jewel of any association, of any organization, of any corporation, of any company, of any army, of any weapon. They all shoot for this critical mass, except the Armenians.
That's right.
How do we get it? Through aggregation of certain elements. What are these elements as input? Like fuel in your automobile, right? In physics, it's the fissionable material that splits over time. In social psychology, it's human activity that increases over time. In human groups, political science, it's the individual that forms or joins a group that increases over time. So these elements, as input ingredients, have to grow. They grow to an appropriate size. We say that it would reach a tipping point. Like a balloon, you inflate it. The slightest increment would burst. That is spontaneous reaction. That is a natural reaction. Nothing from outside, an agent working or acting upon it. It's internally propelled. The result is power. At this stage we say, the association, the organization, the corporation, the company, the army, the weapon, obtain critical mass. The reaction that we get. A balloon you burst, it's sound. But a critical mass, when it's burst, it is power. What do we do with power? It's universal currency. We use it as leverage. We know that in political modalities, in diplomatic negotiations, negotiations in finance, negotiations between two nations, to armies, to enemies, even husband and wife. Leverage is an advantage that people use to get ahead. This is the science of critical mass, which we seem to be, as Armenians, all right, of critical mass to a small group of people, politically very insignificant. Anyway, inhabited vast regions of North America, your country. Okay? In late 70s, they wanted to be in control of their destiny. They also wanted to settle a territorial dispute with Canada. A self-elected, appointed group of leaders, they wrapped their brain, their collective brain, around the notion of establishing a self-governing nation. Wow, what a big dream. Soon they discovered that they could not tackle this Herculean task with a group of activists. However, they had the elasticity of the mind, these primitive people even. Elasticity of the mind to recognize, to realize the fact that if they work together in an organization, they could fight Leviathans. So, in 1977, representatives from 3 major nations, Denmark, Greenland, United States, Alaska, Canada, Northwestern Territories, they met for the first time. They formed Inuit World Organization. Thereafter, they launched their activist attorneys, battle after battle. In 1993, attorneys succeeded in building jurisdictions. These jurisdictions, collectively, they named it Nunavut, our land, in Inuktitut language. And on April 1, 1999, Nunavut was officially separated from Northeast Territories and became the newest, the largest federal territory of Canada. What a success story. It's next to Zionism. It's the greatest success story of the 20th century. They carved a territory size of Western Europe, 64 times the size of the Republic of Armenia. How did they do it? Well, we know, critical mass, being organized. They had the power, that spontaneous reaction, and they succeeded. Now, if the Inuit would succeed, could Armenians do it? Well, Armenia is the cradle of civilization. Actually, it is the birthplace of civilization. I have a new book on it. In my view, I think that if we are united, we can do it. In conclusion, the history of the genocide is reaching a centennial. What a great present. What a glorious gift we would give the Armenian people if we were to put our differences aside and capitalize on a common ideology. Consensus has it that the burning ideology should be one, to protect the interests of the Armenian people around the world. Together we could do it. 2, to pursue the Armenian cause relentlessly. In solidarity, we could do it. 3, to seek justice so that we all begin to heal our open wounds. Hand in hand, we could do it. We have the talent. We have the knowledge. We have the talent. Look around you. This place is full of talent. With your help, we could do it. We have the knowledge. Yes, we have the knowledge. By enlisting our highly educated, highly experienced new generation, mind to mind, we could do it. How many of you here are new generation? Very few. Let me see the hands. 2 only. 3.
4.
4. We need 90% here to be new generation. Anyway, knowledge is power. We all know that. But enthusiasm is the switch to turn on that power. So let us all turn on our personal switches in order to put the Armenian nation on a course to gain critical mass so that we all enjoy political clout. Together we could do it. And in so doing, we would prove GD to be wrong by showing the world that the wish and the will of the Armenian people are unstoppable in pushing the envelope until justice is done. By gaining critical mass through a worldwide organization, we could all rise to the challenge and succeed. We can only do this only together as one cohesive group. Won't you brave with us passionately to be united? It's your nation. Think about it. Thank you.
Hello.